Hey y'all, I want to talk about Diana in Season 15. If you're not a jungler, or if you are a jungler and you want to pick up a new champion, this video is for you. Diana is extremely fun. She is a strong jungler in the meta right now. She's easy to pick up, and she is really, really good. I think there are a lot of things that make her strong in this current meta. I think she has a lot of pretty skins, and I think she is just a great champion overall. So we're going to talk about everything in this video, so stick around if you want to learn jungle, if you want to pick up Diana and add her to your pool. So let's talk about some of Diana's strengths. Diana is really, really good at taking down AoE camps because of her passive, which does bonus damage to monsters. On every third attack, you do a big AoE. And this enables Diana to be an excellent jungler because of her ability to clear camps really quickly, as well as doing objectives really quickly. She excels because once she gets some items rolling, and even at level 1, she's able to clear the entire jungle quickly, and then gank, get objectives, skirmish people back and buy more items, whatever it is, she can do it all, and she's extremely versatile. She also takes advantage of the new items amazingly well. Traditionally, Diana has always been this weird niche in between AP Assassin Bruiser champion who would go like Nashers and Death Cap Zanyas, items like that in order to auto attack fast but also one-shot people. But there's been a new build in Season 15 that has taken off and propelled her to the top of the meta. This is the Bruiser build, as I like to call it, the Diana Mask for Mask build. In this build, you build all of the mask items in the AP tree, and you become this unkillable HP stacking, super buff Dami Mommy Queen who does a ton of damage. You initiate fights, you have so much HP, you build one defensive item, you're just unkillable. It's so fun to play. You also clear your jungle instantly, you have great sustained damage, you do objectives quickly. She's a menace. Diana has a really good place in the meta right now. A lot of the best champions in the game are AD champions. They're all AD junglers, and Diana does particularly well into these champions because they tend to either stack armor through their passives, or they just don't like itemizing MR very well. And it's also super nice to have an AP jungler. Having an AP jungler opens your laners up to do so much. You can have an AD mid laner, you can have an AP bot laner, you can have an AD top laner. An AP jungler is great for your damage profile. And on top of this, Diana is really the only strong AP jungler right now. The next best AP junglers are all kind of one note. You have Evelynn, Nidalee, and Elise. Those are like the next 3 best junglers, and they're all AP assassins, so they don't provide nearly the same role that Diana is providing, which is like a bruiser frontline AP champion. And really nobody provides the same role, because even the other AP junglers like Brand, Zyra are these long-range damage over time, huge burst champions, but they're range. Diana is this tanky frontline, big magic damage fight initiator, and no one does it like her. She's a great champion. And let's talk about how to play her. We're going to talk about her runes, we're going to talk about the items you go, and then we're going to go over a few of her clears. So you're definitely going to want to stick around to see the clears, because that's what makes her really, really strong. Let's talk about Diana's runes. Diana can run the standard jungle rune page that every single jungler likes to run, which is shown on screen right now. It's the Conqueror Inspiration Tree page. But she has a lot of versatility in her runes, and let's talk about it. The main rune that most Diana players are going to be taking in the primary rune tree is Conqueror. Conqueror is a fantastic rune for most junglers to take. It's really strong on Diana because you're able to stack this quickly through your abilities, and because you're a melee champion, if you Q, W, E, auto somebody, all of a sudden you're at 8 stacks, the max stacks is 12, and when you're at max stacks, you start healing. And so this is really, really good and synergizes with Diana's kit very well because her passive gives her attack speed, you're using your abilities, getting your attack speed, you're queuing people, you're Eing them, you're resetting off that, and you're stacking Conqueror really quickly. This is a great rune for this is a great rune for Diana. You can't go wrong with this. The other runes in the precision tree aren't that good for jungle Diana. I can't see Fleet Footwork being good. You don't have a sustain problem. Lethal Tempo maybe is niche, but not good. Impress the Attack could be good, but Conqueror just tends to be better for the build you want to do. In the first row, Absorb Life, Triumph, and Presence of Mind, you're going to only want to be going Triumph. Triumph is a crazy good rune for all junglers. It's great. It does everything you want it to. It heals you when you're fighting after you get a kill. It gives you extra gold. It's great. You only want to go this. The other 2 are bad. In the second row, you have Legend Alacrity, Haste, and Bloodline. Bloodline is obviously useless because it's lifesteal and an AP champion, so you're talking between haste and alacrity. I almost always go alacrity on Diana because her auto attacks are really strong, especially if you could cycle her passive, which works on every third auto, so getting the extra attack speed is nice. I can see on one-shot builds potentially going haste if you're going like Deathcap Sanyas, because you just want to ER in and one-shot the carries, but usually you want alacrity, you can't go wrong with that. And finally, in the last row, we have 3 choices to make. We have Coup de Grace, Cut Down, and Last Stand. These can be optimized. There are generally good ones. It really comes down to preference. Coup de Grace is the catch-all rune that just makes you do more damage when you're killing people, and you're going to be killing people if you're playing jungle, so anytime a champion is less than 40% health, you're doing increased damage. That's great. Coup de Grace is a fine rune to take. Cut Down is also good in certain scenarios where you're going to be fighting high HP champions who are going to be above 60% health frequently. Think of your tanks who you're going to want to be wearing down for your AD carry to kill or for yourself to kill. This is good for getting fights started and doing the extra bit of damage up front so somebody else can finish them off. This one's okay, usually more niche. And finally, we have Last Stand, which is a rune that gives you increased damage the lower health you get. This rune is also just as good as Coup de Grace. It's fantastic in those skirmishes where you're fighting over the scuttle, or in fights where you're just getting low. You're going to eke out that extra bit of damage and be able to finish someone off in an unexpected turn of events because you're just getting that extra bonus. I tend to like Last Stand. I find that a lot of fights, you really get low and you're going to be sitting there at 200 health and they're at 200 health and you flash and they flash and all of a sudden you're getting a kill because you hit the fadeaway Q or you flash some ability, and that extra damage I think does matter. But Coup de Grace is just as good. You can't go wrong. In the domination tree, there are 3 good keystones for Diana. Hail of Blades is buffed this season, but it's alright. You don't really need it on Diana. It helps you cycle your passive, but it doesn't do too much outside of that. It gets the fight going, and then it's done. Dark Harvest is okay. It's also been buffed, but Dark Harvest is kind of niche on her because Dark Harvest is a scaling rune that you really need to get off the ground, and if you go Dark Harvest, you kind of remove the strategy of farming that you could do if you want to be a power farmer and not a ganker, so it's kind of a one-note strategy. And finally, we have the recently buffed in patch 25.04 Electrocute. This rune is amazing. I've been testing it out. It's super duper strong. Electrocute is an enormous upfront burst rune and does a ton of damage, and I think it's good on Diana jungle if you are up against a lot of squishies and you want to be going in and just one-shotting everybody. In the first row, we have Cheap Shot, Taste of Blood, and Sudden Impact. The first 2 aren't that good on Diana. Cheap Shot works with impaired movement actions, which you can only do with your ultimate, I believe. I don't think slows count as Cheap Shot. Whatever. Taste of Blood gives you health, which you don't need. You don't need the healing as Diana. You're going to be full health from your jungle item frequently. After the first back, you should never have health issues, so this isn't good. You probably want to take Sudden Impact. This gives you extra true damage after you dash, and Diana's E is her dash, so you're going to be doing this all the time. You're going to be doing it multiple times in fights. If you get a long fight off, you're going to jump in, E, do some damage, fight around. You might get a second proc if the fight goes on long enough. You'd want to take Sudden Impact for sure. In the middle row, we have Sixth Sense, Grizzly Mementos, and Deep Ward. These are all new runes to Season 15. 2 of them are pretty useless. Sixth Sense allows you to sense nearby wards. This is super niche. I never really noticed it when I'm playing. I've tried it a few times. I don't like it at all. Even if you know you're unwarded, which is powerful, it's not that great. You're usually doing the gank anyway, and you were going to sweep it anyway, so it doesn't matter if you were seen or not. It's only really helpful if they have random deep wards on you, so I wouldn't recommend taking this. It's not good. Then we have Grizzly Mementos, which gives you trinket cooldown on kills. This is fantastic for your sweeper. It allows you to sweep way more. And this is just a good rune to take on junglers because you want to be sweeping a lot and clearing vision. And finally, we have Deep Ward. This is extremely niche. You would only do this if you're keeping the yellow trinket, which is really awkward for a jungler to do, so I don't really recommend taking this. I would go Grizzly Mementos. And finally, we have the final row in the Domination Tree: Treasure Hunter, Relentless Hunter, and Ultimate Hunter. I am a Treasure Hunter lover. Treasure Hunter is amazing on jungle because, again, you're ganking, you're getting extra gold, and the early game gold does snowball you to item spikes. There are many, many games where I'm 10 or 20 gold above a threshold that really pushes me forward, or where I'm able to buy a Dark Seal exactly because I full cleared and got a kill, and Treasure Hunter gave me 1250 gold for the perfect pack. So I love this rune. Relentless Hunter is another rune that I love. This gives you out of combat movement speed. This is fantastic for when you back and you're running to go gank and you could just floor it and get that extra movement speed. Of course, this is on takedown. This is also great for running up and down the river for ganking. Once you clear your jungle, this is just an all-around good jungler rune. You can't go wrong with this. Finally, we have Ultimate Hunter. Ultimate Hunter is, I think, a pretty bad rune. Obviously Diana's ultimate is a game-changing ultimate. It's extremely powerful, and you want to be using it as much as you can, but I don't think the cooldown is that long on Diana, and I think you're sacrificing a lot of power by taking this rune compared to other runes that you could take, which are Relentless Hunter and Treasure Hunter, which I think are both very strong. I tend to prefer Treasure Hunter, so I would recommend that, but Relentless Hunter, again, you can't go wrong with. In the sorcery tree, you don't want to be taking any of these. Phase Rush could have a niche argument, but you don't really like Phase Rush on Diana jungle. It's, unless you have like a Trundle and a few other champions you need to run away from, it's not that good. Maybe Udyr, but I wouldn't take it. In the green tree, similarly, there aren't any you'd really want to take. Grasp could have an argument for it, but Grasp isn't that good on Diana. Maybe you could do some Grasp, Shield Bash, and Revitalize with your W max, but I've never seen that. I don't know if it'd be good. I'm not trying it out. And in the Inspiration tree, similarly, nothing is really good. First Strike would be the only good rune on her, and I don't think it's that good or worth going, so I recommend in the primary tree only going Precision or Domination, and specifically only going Electrocute or Conqueror. Those are the two best for her. Talking about secondary runes now, we have a few things to mention. If you're going in the Electrocute tree, we'll start with this one. If you're going Electrocute, you're going to want to go either in the Precision or the Inspiration tree. And in the Precision tree, you would want to go Triumph and then either Coup de Grace or Last Stand. You're going to want to one-shot people, and Electrocute, you want to do more damage. So this is probably the best tree you could go. Something like Electrocute and then Triumph and Coup de Grace. I could also see somebody going Magical Footwear, Cosmic Insight, but this tends to be like the more slow play jungle runes. This is nice for every single jungler and generically good, but if you want Electrocute and you're forcing Electrocute, I would recommend going Precision. I would not recommend going Sorcery or Resolve second if you're going Electrocute, because again, you want power if you're going Electrocute. For the main Diana page, which is I recommend is Conqueror, Triumph, Alacrity, and Last Stand, or Coup de Grace, you can go a few different pages. The main one that you can go 100 games in a row is Magical Footwear, Cosmic Insight. You really can't go wrong with this tree, and you'll see this on tons of junglers. You'll see them go Conqueror with some variation in the Precision tree depending on if they have mana or if they like Ability Haste, and then Magical Footwear and Cosmic Insight. These are fantastic runes in the jungle. They're super duper powerful because you're ganking and getting early boots for free, and then getting 10 move speed on top of that, which you love. And Cosmic Insight is amazing because you get your Summoner Spell Haste, which is for your smite, so you can smite more and farm your jungle faster, get objectives more frequently, and have your smite up to slow people down. It's good all around. If you're not going to go this tree, I would recommend you go Domination for the power, and I would go Sudden Impact and Treasure Hunter, or Sudden Impact and Relentless Hunter. I would skip out on the Grizzly Mementos because this is a utility rune, and you really want the snowballing power from the Domination tree if you're going to go it. So I think Sudden Impact is the best because it is just straight up damage that you're always going to have in your combo because you're always pressing E. And then Relentless Hunter and Treasure Hunter are snowballing runes. If you go the Sorcery tree, I could see a few arguments made for Axiom Arcanist. I've never seen it on Diana, but maybe if you're going the one-shot build, it could be good. Water Walking is always alright on junglers. You can't go wrong with that. Nimbus Cloak in this first row is also nice for escaping or getting in and chasing people down. If like spacing is an issue, you could flash, get the extra movement speed, and get on top of somebody, or smite similarly, so it's good for chasing and stuff. I really wouldn't recommend Transcendence, Celerity, Absolute Focus, Scorch. Gathering Storm could be okay though, but you know, it's passive. You don't want to do that. And finally, the Resolve tree. I don't think the Resolve tree is good on Diana jungle, but if you were going to force it, I would probably do Shield Bash and I would probably do Revitalize to maximize your W power. And you could take Green Smite on top of this to get more shields and have that shield be affected by Revitalize and give you Shield Bash. I think it works with Revitalize. I'm not 100% sure. I do know it works with Shield Bash. This is it's a niche page. It could be good. I don't know if I'm trying it out. For the most part, almost every game I'm going to be going this Conqueror page, and unless they have 4 squishies, then I'm whipping out the Electrocute page and we're one-shotting people. Finally, we'll talk about our little stat sticks. As Diana, you're always going to want the attack speed. 10% attack speed is amazing for your passive on your first clear. You're going to take this on most junglers, but Diana specifically loves this. The early free attack speed is just great for getting your first clear down to 3 minutes 30 seconds, which is required. In the middle one, you're going to want Adaptive Force. The health scaling is fine, the move speed's fine, but the damage is very good. You're a jungler, you want kills. In the final tree, flat health isn't as good as scaling health because usually you're going to get to like level 4 and this will even out. I'm pretty sure the scaling health is just better. The tenacity and slow resist has an argument if they have tons of slows and you need the tenacity and you don't plan on getting tenacity, but Diana doesn't really need it. I would recommend every game going attack speed, adaptive force, and then health scaling. Let's talk about items for Diana now. Diana has gone through a build renaissance recently. She has 2 powerful builds with the Nashor's AP stacking build and also the HP stacking bruiser build. I'm going to go over both of these, but we're going to start out where all junglers have to start out, which is their jungle pet choice. Red, blue, green. All 3 of these are very good for Diana. Red will give you more damage and chasing power because when you do get it evolved, it gets a little slow and extra damage. Blue will give you more chasing power and escape power and map movement because it gives you movement speed whenever you enter a brush. And green will give you extra tankiness with that shield that you get every time you finish a camp or when you go back to base. All of them are good. An argument can be made for every single one of these for every game, and especially on Diana, she is good with all of them. I tend to like blue or green. These 2 are very forgiving runes. They're powerful in every scenario, even if you're ahead or behind, where red is only really good if you're ahead. So I recommend going blue if you think you're going to want to run around the map a lot and movement is important to you, or green if you think you're going to be that frontline champion and you're always going to be the first one in and taking damage and dying and your team's cleaning up and winning the fight. So we could say green is fine. We'll talk about her bruiser build first, and this is what I have been calling the mask for mask build. This is a haunting guys stacking build. In this new build, you are stacking all 3 of these items and becoming unkillable with your enormous HP stat and doing so much damage. So we have Leandri's Torment, Riftmaker, and Bloodletter's Curse. You'll notice in all of these items, we're getting HP, ability power, ability haste, and then an amazing passive. These are incredible stats for Diana, and they work really well with her passive, giving her attack speed with Legend Alacrity as well. You're going to love them. And so when I'm playing Diana now, I am rushing Faded Ashes. This item is the core of most AP junglers early game. It does tons of damage, allowing you to burn through camps easily, especially the AoE ones, especially with your passive on Diana, and just makes your clear go that much more quickly. It's a cheap item that you can afford after a full clear plus Scuttle. You won't be able to afford it if you don't get Scuttle. And it's just overall an amazing item. You can't go wrong with it. I always then go for the Leandri's Torment after that. The Leandri's Torment is going to be the first legendary item that I complete. This item is a huge spike for all AP champions, but Diana especially loves it. Makes her super potent with her jungle clear, makes her super potent with her all-ins because she's bulky, and with the W shield and the health from this, she's super tanky. She does a lot of damage. It's 70 AP and a burn, so she can kill high health targets. She can kill squishies with this too, and it's just overall a great item. After this, I usually look to build another mask, and I'll go straight into the second mask, and then after that, I'm getting the Riftmaker. Riftmaker is the second mask item I like to buy. This one synergizes really well with Leandri's Torment. These 2 items as a core are fantastic, and you'll see them on a lot of champions, or you'll see Riftmaker on a lot of champions who are building HP anyway. This item gives you bonus damage in combat and gives you Omnivamp if you're in combat for a while, which synergizes with building a lot of HP. It also gives you the passive Void Infusion, which gives you 2% of your bonus health as ability power, which again, you're building a lot of ability power. And then it gives you ability power, health, and ability haste. This item is fantastic. It synergizes in every way with Diana's kit and with Leandri's Torment, and you will just love this item. Finally, we have the last mask item, Bloodletter's Curse. This item, if you are going to build it, it is situational, but if you're going to build it third, it is primarily good when the enemy is stacking a lot of magic resist, or you have a lot of damage dealers on your team. Usually both of those go hand in hand. Bloodletter's Curse I would put into the situational block. It is good. It's HP, it's AP, it synergizes with the Riftmaker, but if the enemy isn't MR stacking, you probably won't need to build this. If you're the only AP on your team, which happens, you probably won't need to build this. The next items I would consider for Diana are the big decision makers you have. This is where you have to make a big decision with Diana as your third item. You could pretty confidently go Leandri's Riftmaker for your first two items, but with this Mask for Mask build, your third item kind of determines the direction you're going. You could always go Zanya's, which is a fantastic item on Diana. This gives her everything she wants. It's tanky stats, it gives her AP, and most importantly, it gives her a way to reset her cooldowns after she engages. A lot of times Diana goes in, you're gonna, flash, Q, E, R, and you're gonna be in the middle of 4 of them, and they're all pulled into you in melee range. You're gonna die, but if you press Zanya's, you're not gonna die. And what Zanya's allows you to do is survive the damage, dodge key abilities, but also it allows your cooldowns to come back up. So if you get in there, your Q cooldown will cycle through, and you'll be able to Q again, especially with the ability haste that you're getting from all your items, and then potentially deal a lot more damage. Zanya's is a fantastic item on Diana, and you can't go wrong. If you're fed, the other items I would recommend potentially going are Death Cap or Shadow Flame. These are fantastic AP items that are just doing what Diana loves best, which is abusing her AP ratios and just slamming a ton of AP on her. You can't go wrong with these, but I tend to prefer Zanya's if you're going for a third item damage. The third item damage item. The other item I would consider third that I see a lot of actually is Unending Despair. Unending Despair has become the flavor of the month tank item. It's good for a lot of reasons. 1, it's cheap. 2, it gives you diverse stat profile now that they changed it to MR and armor and health. You're going to really love this. You get ability haste, and then most importantly, you get this amazing passive called Anguish. Anguish is a passive that while you're in combat, you're going to do damage to all the champions around you periodically. Every 4 seconds, you'll just do damage to the enemy, and you'll actually heal for the damage you do. You can see here, you heal for 250% of the damage dealt. So if you find yourself having like another AP carry mid, and you get your 2-item core, and you're like, okay, it's looking like I just need to be the one to go in and get fights started. My damage doesn't matter. I don't need Zanya's. Let me just go in and tank and be annoying. This is the item you're going to want. So I would say this is a very good situational third item, even better than Death Cap and Shadow Flame. You're almost always going to want to go Leandri's Torment into Riftmaker, and then choose Bloodletter's, Zanya's, or Unending Despair. I don't really see too many other items built. I've seen people go Sunfire Cape before. It's all right. And on this Bruiser build, you tend to only go like Nash or Lichbane every once in a while, but sometimes you go Storm Surge situationally, but I don't think Storm Surge is too good. So I would recommend sticking to Leandri's, Riftmaker, and then Zanya's, Bloodletters. And if you get to 5 items, throw a Death Cap in there. And if you want to go the Bruiser build, if you want to go more tanky, you go Leandri's, Riftmaker, and then you can go Unending Despair, and then Zanya's, and then either another tank item or Bloodletters. And Bloodletters is your magic pen of choice for this build. You don't usually want to go Void Staff on this sort of build because you are a bruiser and doing a lot of magic damage, but you're going to be doing it in bursts over time, and you're going to be able to maximize your Bloodletter's Curse on this champion. So definitely focus on this. The other build we have for Diana is her super high damage build, and this is the old build that she always went that I think is still pretty good. Not as good as the Mask for Mask build, but you can always do this situationally. This one I would probably recommend going green or red smite on. Blue or red are more offensive, and you're going to be wanting to have a more aggressive build if you do this. And this build has one of two items that you rush. You are either going to be rushing your Nashor's Tooth if you think you're going to be auto-attacking a lot, or you want to clear your jungle super quickly. This item is great for securing dragons early. This item is great for doing grubs, farming. This item is great for skirmishing against champions who you're going to be in melee range, who you could stick to, who aren't going to be cutting you. And it's just all around good for Diana. It helps her passive, it gives her ability haste, it makes your auto attacks do AP damage, and it gives you a lot of AP. The other item I would consider would be a Lichbane. Lichbane is also a great item for the same reasons on Diana. It gives you the attack speed for that one auto attack after you use an ability, but you're going to be cycling a lot. It gives you ability power, it gives you ability haste, and it also gives you movement speed, which is really nice in the jungle, and this item is great for bursting people down. You're really, really going to love this item. For your second item in this build, you're probably going to want to go more AP and high AP items. If you went Nashor's, you could very easily go Lichbane second and have a Nashor's Lichbane combo. These two items synergize very well together. If you go Lichbane, I would not recommend going Nashor's second, though. You'll want to go into a full AP build with Lichbane, and you'll want to avoid items like Nashor's, because Nashor's, with attack speed, it snowballs early, and you want it early. You're not going to want it later. So if you go Lichbane first, I would recommend either going Storm Surge next, Deathcap next, Zhonya's next, or Shadow Flame next. All of these items are great on Diana, and you could do this with the Nashor's build as well. So let's actually put them down here. These four items, as I've talked about before, or at least these three I've talked about before, are fantastic for Diana's AP ratios, which she has in her QWE, R, and passive. So you definitely want items like Deathcap, Shadow Flame, and Zhonya's, which have huge AP ratios. Zhonya's is obviously your defensive option, Shadow Flame is your cheap offensive option, and Deathcap is your snowballing, I have a lot of gold and I can do this option. The other option that I think is really, really good on Diana jungle if you're going an Electrocute or Burst route is Storm Surge. This item is pretty cheap and does a ton of damage and blows people up in an unexpected way. People still, after all this time, do not expect the Squall damage explosion. You just deal extra, you go in, do a whole burst, walk away, boom, they just explode and take extra magic damage. They don't expect it, they die. This item is fantastic. And you're going to frequently be taking advantage of it because, as you can see, it procs when you do 25% of champion's maximum health within 2.5 seconds. And you're going to do that a lot because you're Diana, you're walking, if you hit someone with your Q and go in, you're using all your abilities. And the movement speed is also really nice, so you can maneuver around after you get in. So I would recommend potentially either going Nashor's, Lichbane, Deathcap, or Nashor's, Lichbane, Zhonya, or going Lichbane, Storm Surge, Zhonya, or Lichbane, Storm Surge, Deathcap, or Lichbane, Zhonya, Deathcap, something like that. And you could slot Shadow Flame in there too. But these are going to be the core items for the Electrocute or Bursty build. And for Magic Pen, you're going to want to forego Bloodletter's Curse, and instead you're going to want to go Void Staff. I don't know, here she is. Void Staff is going to be your Magic Pen item of choice. You're not going to want Bloodletter's Curse because you don't really do the sustained damage in the same way. This requires you to apply a lot of instances of magic damage to someone before it's effective, and it's still then not as effective as Void Staff. You can see this is 40% at max stacks, Bloodletter's at 30%. So Void Staff will be better for this build. Crypt Bloom, you go, if you're a broke boy, you don't want Crypt Bloom. It's not that good. It's just for brokies. Sorry. In terms of boots for both builds, you're going to want Magic Pen boots. You can't go wrong with defensive boots. Diana really functions well with all boots. I would say Sorcerers are her best by far, and after that you can choose Plated Steel Caps or Merc Treads depending on if you need the utility for defense or the tenacity. Finally, you could go Swifties or cooldown reduction, but I think these are super niche, and unless they have a team of all slows, or unless you just can't afford real boots, you probably want to be going either Sorks or defensive boot. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it for items. You can obviously slot Mishais and Dark Seals in all of these builds, but for the most part, you're going to want to go these basic items, and the Bruiser Mask for Mask build or this Burst build. I think Diana has 3 main core builds right now. I think her best build is her Mask for Mask build, where I would recommend going the Green Jungle Pet, Faded Ashes Rush, and then going Liandry's, Sork Shoes, Fifth Maker, Bloodletter's Curse, Zanya's, and Unending Despair to cap it off and be very tanky, tons of HP, and lots of sustained damage. Her other good build is her Electrocute Burst build. This build I would go Red Smite or Blue Smite, get Nasher or Lichbane Rush into Sork Shoes, Storm Surge, Zanya's, Void Staff, and then Death Cap. Otherwise, I would do her other burst build, which is a Conqueror burst build with Blue Smite, Nasher's Rush, Sork Shoes, Lichbane, Zanya's, Void Staff, Death Cap. In either way, in either case, you're going to be seeing that most of the time for Diana, you're going to be wanting to go your core items into Zanya's because you need that Zanya's on Diana. It's extremely important. And then you'll have some form of Magic Pen, Death Cap. Try these builds out. Let me know how they work for you. Let's talk about Diana's abilities and some basic combos to understand so you could play Diana effectively. Diana's passive is Moon Silver Blade. This ability gives her bonus attack speed for 5 seconds every time she uses an ability. It also makes it so every third auto attack cleaves and does a ton of magic damage. This magic damage is amplified against monsters, and this is what enables Diana to be so powerful in the jungle. So you can see as I press Q, I get what's known as Blessing of the Lunari. This is my attack speed buff. It lasts 5 seconds. It'll get refreshed anytime you cast an ability. It'll only be up for a maximum of 5 seconds. The second part of her passive, you'll see right here. It's called Moon Silver Blade. It stacks 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And you can see how much damage it does, right? 1 auto, 2 auto, just like a normal amount of damage. Boom. Big auto. Lots of damage. Magic damage amplified by your items. It's extremely powerful. So her passive is great. Diana's Q is called Crescent Strike. Crescent Strike. Crescent Strike is an amazing ability shaped like a crescent that throws out like this. It has a deceivingly large range, and it also applies them with a stack of Moonlight, which we'll go over later. This is Diana's bread and butter ability. It's an ability you will always max, and you are able to aim it in different ways. You could aim it far out, you could aim it close to you, but it'll always curve in this crescent shape. Her next ability, W, is called Pale Cascade. This ability spawns 3 orbs around you that each do magic damage, and once all 3 of the orbs expire, you get a big shield. She also gets a shield initially. So you'll see I got a shield, I walk up, do the damage, the shield doubles. So you're going to get a big shield out of this ability, potentially twice, and do some damage. This ability is your second maxed ability. It's very powerful in skirmishes with enemy junglers because you're able frequently to get all 3 pops off, and you'll get a big shield. You'll get a shield up front, and you'll get a big shield to follow up that takes a lot of damage and makes you turn fights pretty easily. Your third ability is called Lunar Rush. This is Diana's signature ability that allows her to teleport around and dash. This ability resets if a target is afflicted with Moonlight. So when you hit somebody with your Q and apply Moonlight to them, you can dash to them, and you'll see your dash is available again. Something to note is when you dash to a target, all stacks of Moonlight will be consumed. So you can't Q 3 targets and dash, dash, dash. You're not Aurelia, you're Diana. You're only going to be able to do it once. There used to be a way where you could E like this and get a triple E off, it's called, but this bug doesn't, it's either too hard to replicate or it doesn't matter. Your final ability is Moonfall. Diana pulls everyone in towards her for 2 seconds and bursts everyone for a huge amount of damage. The more champions you get, the more damage you do. If you get it on one target, the damage comes down. You could see it does a good amount of damage. You get it on 3 targets, it does way more damage. Pulls them all towards you, and it does the damage after it comes down. This is important to note because you must hit people with the second part of your ult, or you won't be doing damage. So, let's talk about Diana's basic combos. Diana's basic combo is just this. It's so easy. You Q somebody, you E in, press WR. You do as much damage as you can. Yeah? Easy enough. Diana has kind of a secret hidden passive that isn't talked about with her Q, and that's if the Q is going to hit the target, somehow they know, your E will reset even before the Q gets there. So watch, if I Q, then E, I get my E back. If I Q and E before, I still get my E back. It does not go on cooldown if it's about to hit. So you can E preemptively. The best thing you could do on Diana is stack up your passive before you go in. If you are fighting somebody and there's minions in the wave and you're about to go in, what you want to do for your most damage is auto attack a minion, get your Moon Silver Blade to 2, and then ER auto, and do the most damage you can. Have your passive stacked as you go in. That way you're going to be cycling it very, very strongly. It's really, really powerful. Anyway, this is the basic of Diana's combos. The basic rundown of Diana's combos. It's pretty easy. Just get your Moonlight on somebody, and then face roll your keyboard. Auto attack as much as you can. And yeah. And if you want to do high burst and you are worried about hitting your Q, because, you know, sometimes champions are looking to dodge it, you could just E somebody, throw your RR, and as they flash away, you Q them. So you could always just look to get somebody if you're trying to start a fight, just flash ER, Q them after, and let your team do the work. Diana, like most junglers, can start from either side and do it with no leash and clear very quickly. Let's go over the blue side clear, starting with blue buff itself. You can see I'm queuing it and I'm slowly walking away, but proccing my passive. And when my passive is down, the passive from the attack speed you get from your abilities, we're walking away from the blue buff. But just doing this is enough to clear the blue buff on its own. And here you're going to notice we're going to want to cycle our abilities to make sure our passive here, Blessing of the Lunari, which is our attack speed buff, stays up. We want this up as much as possible because your passive is the thing doing damage to the camps. We're going to kite this towards our wolves, and by kiting the camps, you not only increase the decrease your clear time, but you're going to decrease the amount of damage you take. So it's really, really helpful if you can hop into a practice tool and just practice actually clearing the camps. I'm going to hold my Q here. And if you can get that down, it's so, so, so beneficial. Now we can Q over the wall here, and once you're level 3 as Diana, you could start using your Q and your E to not only get over walls, but to reset your passive cooldown. Here we're going to do this and do both the red and the Raptors at once. And we're going to look to keep our passive up, like always. So use our E to extend our passive, our W to extend our passive, and our Q, our passive is still going. And just like that, you kill it. Finally, we go do the Golem camp, and it's the same principle. You want to cycle your abilities to make sure your passive is always ticking. And just like that, full clear at 320. This isn't a perfect clear, but it's a pretty easy clear. With this clear, you're going to be able to go back, get your Scuttle Crab, or you're going to be able to get the Scuttle Crab right here, pretty much as it spawns, not right when it spawns, but it can be optimized. You're only using one smite, and when you get this, you go back with 920 gold, which is the perfect amount of gold to buy your Faded Ashes, which is exactly the item you want. And this is just a really easy blue buff start clear for Diana with no leash at full health. For the Raptors clear with Diana, it's going to be the same principle of keeping your passive up, but it's going to be the more farm efficient route. And let's go over it. You're going to want to Q the Raptors standing in the back like this to make sure your Q hits all of the camp. You're also going to want to cycle your passive twice and then kind of kite it out until your Q is up again. This way you're maximizing your uptime of your ability, and then you're going to, of your passive, and then you're going to run over here, skip your red buff, go to your golems, and do this as you level your W. You're going to use your W as soon as the Blessing of the Lunari spell your passive expires. Again, you want to keep your passive up at all times.
We're going to do this, hit your passive there, run to the red, and same concept. We're slightly kiting this, watching our passive. As soon as it expires, you keep your attack speed up, keep autoing. And just like this, your attack speed is always available on the camps. You can kite this one out and smite it there. Start running towards your wolves, and you're going to do your wolves and then your romp, focusing on getting your small camps done. And now when you're level 3, you have your E, so you can QE, get a little bit of distance to clear your speed, as well as extend your passive. Your E will always put you on the other side of the camp, so you can E like this, walk to the other side, E over, get in range of it. We'll walk up to this Gromp and do the same thing. We'll Q. We want to keep our passive up, so we E after a little bit. And then our W is coming up, so we W. We walk over to this side, Q it again. You E it, and your passive is up this whole time. And then you walk over to your blue as you kite it a little bit. And we're focused on keeping our passive up. So you want to hold your E for a little bit. Use your W. Your Q is back up. You're going to Q it. E it. And you're going to start walking towards our scuttle. And you can see with this clear, you're able to full clear your jungle, get to level 4 right as scuttle spawns, and be here. And then from the Raptors clear, you actually have an interesting decision. You could back with your 900 gold and immediately get your Faded Ashes and be on the map. Or you could look for a little sneaky mid gank if it's available. Or you could look to farm your Raptors again. You could see just running back here. My Raptors aren't spawning just yet, but they're yellow on my map, which you can't see, but it's behind me. But they're going to be spawning soon. And so maybe you wait for a mid gank, loop around. You don't get the mid gank, but then you come here and you can farm your Raptors again, actually, and get a second rotation of your Raptors using the smite on your first red, the scuttle, and then the golems. And with this pathing, because we skipped our red level 1, now our golems are spawning really soon, and we can wait on the minimap until they respawn, and when they do, you could do a similar thing, smite this, and this is called a fast 5 clear. When you start Raptors, you can get a clear like this. And you see I'm backing at level 5, 4 minutes 30 with 1200 gold. This is a fantastic back. You're going to be able to get Faded Ashes. If you got a kill, you'd be able to get more. You could wait a little bit and get your Dark Seal. Sometimes you're going to be on the map for a little bit longer, and you'll be able to get this because the timing won't be as efficient. But either way, you're walking onto the map with Faded Ashes, Dark Seal, around 5 minutes with your topside spawning. You could run and go farm this and gank top and be super powerful on the map. And this is just from farming.